Welcome to Breath of Fresh Air, the podcast bringing fresh insight and real talk to the world of dental practice management. Your hosts, Amanda Demora and Sarah Hamlin, are two industry insiders who've seen it all from the front desk to the C-suite. Amanda, the founder of Essential Dental Services, now Daydream Dental, is an operations consultant, business coach, and practice management expert. Sarah, former COO of Essential Dental Services, continues her leadership journey as the COO of Daydream Dental, a cutting-edge dental billing company. Together, they deliver unfiltered conversations on dental office operations, leadership, revenue cycle management, team dynamics, strategy, industry trends, and more. Designed for practice managers, dentists, assistants, and front office professionals, this podcast is the ultimate resource for anyone looking to optimize and elevate their dental practice. Take a deep breath, because Breath of Fresh Air is here to shake things up and help dental teams build smarter, smoother, and more successful practices.
Welcome back to the Breath of Fresh Air podcast. I'm Amanda Demora.
And I am Sarah Hamlin.
We're much closer to our last session this time than before when we were on our hiatus.
We're making an effort, people. We want to be here and talk to you, I promise.
I had pretty much reached out to Sarah and I said, I've got 2 more free Fridays this summer. That's it. So let's try to get something in here.
I know. I can't really believe that we're in summer. I was just telling somebody like that old, saying that the days are long and the years are short is so true. I hate to be cliche, but getting old just makes time be very strange, I think.
Time is funny. Time is a very funny thing, but I absolutely feel that way. It's very much day-to-day. Things don't seem like they change. And then especially having young kids,
yeah,
I'm laying in bed every night looking at photos of them when they were newborns.
I know. We have our TVs are set to rotate through, photos in some album somewhere. So we're always seeing old photos of the kids. And I think the same thing. I'm like, what? That was 3 years ago? Oh my gosh. How did that happen?
I know. Actually, Sarah got me on with one of the most recent iPhone updates where your background could just rotate and you would kind of select a category of photos that you wanted to show. Yep. So just for a while, all Sarah and I were really doing was sending each other screenshots of our background.
Yes.
And what our background was that day. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yes. I turned that setting off on my phone. I need to turn it back. Why did I do that?
Mine paused a little bit too. And I also feel like my daughter is not included in the, I don't know. It's not picking her up at all. It's only my son who's getting any FaceTime on the backgrounds and possibly some plants and things. That's it.
Some cityscapes instead of your poor kiddo.
Yes. It really likes the Chicago skyline for some reason.
Oh, gosh.
All right, so we'll jump in a little bit here. The first thing I wanted to talk about was a workshop, mini conference coming up called Practice Management Power Day. It is in September. I'm going to put all of the information in our show description, but it's in Denver. It is called Practice Management Power Day. It is for experienced managers and owners, and I always feel like when I have taken many classes and things, I don't always get a ton out of them because I've been in the industry for so long and a lot of them are aimed at beginners or maybe mid-level, but this is for experienced managers and owners again. So incredible lineup. Teresa Duncan, Michelle Affinado, and a handful of other amazing ladies speaking. Lots of revenue cycle management talk. Michelle is going to do her profit and loss workshop, which is really, really cool. She's done that for a lot of study clubs and things, and people love it. And there's going to be a couple little add-on days too. So on that Saturday, Dental Revenue Network is going to have a meetup, and I believe Sarah's going to be there.
Yes, super excited about that. And very excited that it's a little closer to me in the country. I feel like I'm always going to
You
the
are.
East Coast to meet up with people. So I'm excited it's a little closer to me.
Yes, you are. Mid-ish country, a little bit better than coming way over here. And then the
Yes.
day before on Thursday is a dental spouses in business meetup, which is run by Beverly Wilburn. And Sarah and I got the lovely opportunity to sit with a bunch of those ladies at dinner last fall when we were at the Do retreat, and that was a lot of fun. So, yeah, I just want everyone to go check it out. Early bird pricing ends, I believe, July 4th. And I think this is going to be a really, really awesome conference and hopefully the first of its kind, and there will be more after. So,
Yeah. And also, like we just talked about, time flying by. I know July seems like it's far away, but it's really
no.
only like 3.5 weeks away. So don't wait. Go get it booked if you want to go.
Yes, definitely. And it's right near the airport in Denver, really easy travel. So, and then, of course, you're in Denver. There's a lot of other cool stuff to check out. So, okay. So today's episode, we are talking about where we think dental practices are falling short in 2026 and what the best practices are doing instead. So, our first kind of talking point here is that a practice that is fully staffed doesn't really mean they're fully trained. And I would say most often not.
Oh, yeah. Also, a kind of an interesting point that I would say here too is like just because your office is fully staffed, even with people who have been with you for a long time, doesn't necessarily mean that those people are fully trained in the newest and best way of doing things too, which I think is also something that a lot of practices forget, is that we could all use a refresher. We could all use some, updating on the newest and best things that are happening in the industry.
I think setting aside just time doesn't always have to be a ton of time, but to make sure that everybody's on the same page, talking about the same thing. A really small example here is at my practice, we recently switched over the fluoride that we use. We have a lot of hygienists. We still had some old fluoride lingering around. What was happening was we'd have a set of like 4 siblings come in at the same time. Couple hygienists were doing one fluoride, couple hygienists were doing another. The kids are going out to the waiting room with the mom, and they're like, wait, how come this one can eat right away? And like, how come, you know what I mean? It was just so simply getting on the same page about small stuff is important. Clearly, you see here that I was not reinforcing this, and I definitely should have. But yeah, setting aside a little bit of time to make sure everyone's on the same page. And just, I always have a running list going for particularly my front office team of things that, again, I want to make sure that we are all saying a uniform thing. Everyone knows how to do these things. Recently, I had a list for one of our newer hires. I went and I sat next to her and I said, okay, I want you to show me how you do all these things. And it was okay that she didn't know how to do them all because I was going to go over that with her. But just checking in.
Yeah, I think this is really hard from like a doctor perspective. A lot of times I see this when it comes to front desk tasks. I think a lot of doctors just aren't as aware of a lot of things with insurance, a lot of things that are happening with, treatment plans and payment plans and what kind of financing are we doing. And they really rely on their front desk staff to be handling all of that. So when it comes to being able to kind of sit with your team and check in on them about what they're doing, that can be really hard, and also just hard for a doctor to have the time to do that. So being able to have them prioritize the time and take the effort to make sure that the doctor is on the same page as everything that's happening up front is something that I think a lot of practices could benefit from as well.
100%. I'm glad you said that because this is something that I have been dealing with at my practice. Is the doctors definitely are not aware at how much is involved with the front office and all the things that we do day in and day out.
Right.
And they're kind of like, well, they feel as though maybe we could trim positions or just hours or whatever it is. I'm like, no. They're like, but we only used to have so many people working up here. I'm like, yeah, but this is not the front desk of 2006. This is so much different than then. And it's so, I think, because back in the day where they often saw us quite active, like literally filing charts or whatever. And now it's very sedentary because all of it is on the computer. I don't know. I think for some reason that equates to them as, well, it doesn't seem as though you're doing much when you're just clicking around a screen. It's like, well, everything is on that screen. We are so involved with the revenue cycle process and verifying insurance, making sure everyone is, taking their pre-med and whatever. There's just so much prep involved for when patients are coming in.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think this kind of ties into something that I was thinking of too, which is, having a clear documentation and outline or like transparency about what each person in the office is doing when then this comes to like job duties and how these things should be done. So SOPs and clear processes is, I know it feels tedious and I know it feels overkill, but in my very favorite and truly horrible cliche that I'm always saying is like, if somebody gets hit by a bus, how are we going to know what we need to do? But that is so true here, is if something happens to that person, whether it is them quitting unexpectedly or, some kind of emergency that takes them out of the office, being able to have the knowledge and all of the work and details that they hold in their brain written down somewhere is so important. But also it's important because in these discussions with the doctor or higher management or whomever it is about, are we fully staffed? What's the staff even doing? How do I know that they're even doing their work? Having these things documented makes it very easy for you to say, here's all of the things that they do in a day. Here's all of the things that they do in a week. Here's why this person is important. It just is going to make your life a lot easier to have that stuff on hand, and also helps you evaluate, wow, what is this person doing? Okay, maybe they aren't maximizing their time. Maybe they aren't the most efficient. Maybe there are some tools that we can help give them to be more efficient. You're not going to know any of that unless you start from the ground up and really evaluate that in this way.
Yeah, I agree. And unexpected things happen all the time. Many times we are not prepared for that. It certainly happened when I became the office manager. It was unexpected. And the practice had no clue what our former office manager of 30 years did all day. She was very disorganized. And who do we use for disability insurance? No idea. Nothing, absolutely nothing. It was starting from scratch. We didn't have logins for many of our accounts. It was a mess, and it took a long time to sort through and things. And that can all be avoided if you are ready for those things by implementing what Sarah just said.
Yeah. I learned this similarly in a hard way when I was pregnant. I started with a new, very small office like in March, and then was set to go on maternity leave in July. And I actually I was supposed to go on maternity leave in like end of August, and I actually ended up going on maternity leave unexpectedly in like mid-July. So I spent the first couple of months that I was there like learning a new office and the new workflows, but also trying to document everything at the same time, because I knew that imminently there was going to be a time where I was going to be out and the office was going to need cross-training and help on how do I send statements? What schedule do I send statements on? How do I post an insurance payment? And it was just a lot of this documentation and kind of working very hard in a short amount of time to get these things in place. And it really just kind of became invaluable, this big old binder up front for everybody to flip to. If somebody was up there unexpectedly, they could find it to know exactly what they needed to do.
And let's be honest, this is a lot easier these days with AI.
Yeah.
This is not,
yes.
So use that to your advantage for sure.
Yeah.
The last thing I really want to say here is along the topic of fully staffed doesn't mean fully trained. Please invest in training for your team regularly. No matter what their position is, there is training out there for them, and that is helping everybody involved. Don't let people stay stagnant. I mean, even me being in all the Facebook groups that I'm in, the dental Facebook groups, is so helpful. I see things there all the time that I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know that was like going on right now. So be aware, immerse yourself in the community. There is a lot to learn, and there's a lot to share too. So.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Second point here is nobody owns the numbers. So reporting, all of that stuff, who's in charge of it, who's reviewing it, what does it all mean? And oftentimes, really no one's looking at it, period.
Yeah.
And what happens here is the practice is doing well. The doctor is profiting. He's making a healthy salary. He's making payroll. And that's all there is. Right? No one's digging in further than that. So
yeah. And I think the easiest way to like determine what people aren't owning or where there are gaps or where there are things that could be going better is to start by documenting and making some SOPs. Take step 1 first. Do that. See where things are at currently. See where things could be better. And then it's going to make it much, much easier to figure out what's not being owned or what's being owned by the wrong person or what could be owned better or differently or more efficiently. But first step is going to be figuring out where things are at currently.
I actually made a little carousel post for our podcast social media the other day that was reports that everybody should be running regularly. And they were your AR, your outstanding claims, outstanding hygiene visits, outstanding treatment. I mean, at a baseline. Those are very
bare minimum.
Very, very baseline. Bare minimum. That's what everyone should be running. Me, at my practice, I am certainly always on the accounts receivable. That's my baby. I'm running that all the time. I'm running that more than once a month and following up on outstanding claims and patient balances. Someone needs to be working those. Of course, Sarah and I have seen, I was thinking as I was preparing for this podcast, because there was a section on our outline where it was like, we've seen hundreds of practices. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we really have worked with hundreds of practices at this point, which is so cool.
Yes.
We've seen hundreds of practices not ever like run any of these things. And that's really true and alarming, actually. But yeah, it's just the truth of the matter.
Yep. People, and a lot of times what I hear or see from doctors in these situations is exactly what we just talked about, where it's like, I ask or we ask, like, what do your outstanding claims look like in your office? And the response, like overwhelmingly often response we get is, oh, I'm not really sure. I'll have to ask my front desk about that. Like, even the doctor should have a general understanding of what is outstanding, what is sitting in AR, what's waiting to be collected. It's fair, I think, and fine if the doctor doesn't want to be super involved in that or doesn't want to, there are different processes in place at the office, so the doctor doesn't have to be in the middle of it. But whoever is owning it should be reporting to the doctor and having some transparency and some accountability there. Otherwise, you really set yourself up for things to get swept under the rug and things to get hidden. And this is how you kind of open the door for even more unfortunate and scary things like fraud and embezzlement and just things that you don't want to have to encounter in your office. So put some checks and balances in place and put some accountability in place with, having someone report these numbers up to you so you can keep an eye on them.
Yeah, even if that is a simple, maybe spreadsheet you share with the doctor each month, maybe you're putting in some numbers there, like this is where our outstanding claims are, this is our collections, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot you could put in there. Even if it's as simple as that, if the doctor wants to dive in more, of course, he's welcome to do that. If he really is just looking for, he or she is just looking for a bird's eye view, okay. But yeah, you should be reporting to them for sure.
Yep.
Let's move on to number 3, which is AI. We were talking about what are we going to talk about today? And Sarah's like, AI in dentistry.
Yeah.
Like, actually, that was a big part
so
of
hot,
what I wanted.
Such a hot topic right now.
It was actually the first thing that came to my mind too. When I'm like, what topic?
I know.
There's really one topic these days that's dominating everything, and that is AI in dentistry. Where we're at, where we're going, what it means, what should we use, what shouldn't we use. So yeah, let's dive into that. I think certainly Sarah and I are not anti-AI at all. We're very welcoming of AI.
I think I really hate to keep saying go back to this initial thing, but if you go back to your job duties and your SOPs, it will become very clear, I think, the stuff that is happening in the office regularly and like repeatably that could be handled by a software or maybe by AI. Like, why are we spending all this time sending out statements when we can find, something that is going to send them out for us and send them out more regularly and, those kinds of things. Like, find those places and those gaps in your daily work and figure out where you can supplement them with something like AI or some kind of software. But as with everything that we talk about on here or we, discuss internally, is like, do your homework with it and don't just pick the best, the prettiest one or the one that calls you and pitches to your team or whatever. Do some research and find the one that really is the best fit for you and your practice, because not all of them are created equal.
Right. Or, I think practice management software is super important too. Making sure it's something that is cohesive with your PMS is important. Also, I want to talk about the places where I think AI totally has its place and where it doesn't. And I don't care if that's a unpopular opinion. I'm going to talk about those. But certainly where I think it has its place is revenue cycle management. That is not because I'm biased. That is just because it's the truth. Time is wasted by trying to perform an insurance verification manually or getting benefit breakdowns, claim status checks, all of that stuff. That is so time consuming manually and is just not needed, period, especially with the tech out there. Our last episode, we talked about Daydream a lot. So we won't go there again. Go listen to that episode to hear all of the awesome AI tools it has to help your revenue cycle. But a couple other places is, marketing assistance and helping write certain things for your office, whether that is emails, claim appeals, should that be needed.
Yeah. One big place that I really like to use it is in data analysis. Like if you do have a spreadsheet that you guys are updating or using regularly for your kind of month over month details, or, you have last year versus this year and all of that, upload those into your preferred AI and, work with it on figuring out some analysis of it and be able to ask questions and format the data in a different way that, might take you a really long time manually on a spreadsheet, but AI can do it in seconds, literal seconds for you. So use it to do those things that, you could have done surely on your own, and you've thought through the process of, hey, I want to look at this, or hey, I want to understand that, but make it do the legwork for you.
Sarah is much better than I with the spreadsheet stuff. And now she's got ungodly tools at her hands
and I'm
to dive even deeper into them.
Very happy for that, honestly. Some of the AI tools are, fantastic at creating spreadsheets too. So if you're not an Excel or Google Sheets wizard, then use the AI to help you create them, and you can become one with the use of the right tools. It can happen. And I think there's just so many ways to use it that we don't think of until you try, or until you experiment, or until you just realize, like, why am I spending my time doing all of this when, I could get it done in 30 seconds by having AI do it. I think those are the things that really get overlooked. Everybody just thinks like, oh, I'm going to have it help me write this email. Well, yes, that's a great use of it to help you edit an email. But I think we see so much AI generated stuff. I don't think it takes a real discerning eye to realize when something's been written by AI. So I think that the age of having something written by AI and you just copy and paste is already kind of becoming old news. People know, they can tell. And frankly, I think I talked about this in, our last episode talking about it, but honestly, I get kind of like offended when I see a message come through that very clearly was generated by AI. I'm like, did you not care about me enough to even like edit this or like put in a little bit of effort to say something directly to me? Like you just had to use AI to do it? I don't know.
I also get offended.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird emotional like attachment to messages from AI, I think.
You know how I was saying this to my doctor the other day, actually. You know how on, let's say, Instagram, if someone is posting like an AI generated graphic, it will say at the top like AI info. That is what I want in emails. I want to know that they didn't write them and therefore I won't be reading them.
Isn't this so funny? Like, I don't know. From a societal standpoint, I don't know. I think it's funny. Obviously, there's a lot of ways that AI is affecting society and just how we interact with each other. But it's funny now that it was so much like, yeah, use it. And now we're all like scoffing at people who use it. Like, no, you have to use it in a sneaky way or in a way that people can't tell.
Well, that's what we're talking about right now, where it has its place and where it does not. So there definitely will be some kind of rejection. I'm in a bunch of different entrepreneur groups, and a lot of people the other day were kind of saying, I won't work with companies that use AI. It's like, they're all using AI.
Right.
Like, what do you mean by that? How exactly do you mean that? But I think a big place where AI does have a place in dentistry is with radiograph reading and interpreting software such as Pearl. Pearl sent our practice a little promo postcard the other day. And it was this really cool postcard thing where it shows a picture of a regular like bite wing and then you pull the tab a little bit and it folds over and shows what it would look like with Pearl's software. And here's the calculus and here's the measurements for this. I'm like, oh my God, this is like an analog paper thing that's supposed to be showing us AI, but yet it's so cool. I just thought that was kind of like I don't know.
Yeah, funny.
But yes. So I definitely think it has its place there in the clinical setting for sure. We love Pearl because it can also help with insurance claims and things and getting your claims pushed through and approved in a situation where maybe they were denied or whatever it might be.
Yep, insurance claims, but also treatment planning and talking with your patients about, what is recommended and why it's recommended and helping them see things in a more clear and like understandable way. I love it for that as well.
I agree. It's a really helpful tool. And I think where it starts to fall short and shouldn't be used is when we're getting into it trying to replace human communication and things like that. So Sarah may disagree. I'm just going to say it. I'm really against AI answering services. Don't like them. I would argue that if you were to ask all of your patients, if you sent them like a simple text that was a poll, when you call our office, who would you rather chat with? A live person in the office or our AI chatbot? I think they would all vote that they would like to chat with someone live in the office. I just don't think they're there yet. People aren't always getting the answers that they needed or whatever it might be. And as we keep moving along with AI, people are really going to be yearning for human connection. I've experienced this at my own doctor's office. It's a multi-specialty place in town here. I've been literally going there since I was born. And all of a sudden, I think they got bought out, possibly by United Healthcare. And there's like no front desk people to be found in the place. And it is really, really frustrating because when I check out of an appointment, they're like, oh, yes, you've got to make your next visit. Someone will contact you. They like never do. It's horrible.
Yeah.
I want to walk out to the front desk and I want to make an appointment.
Yeah.
Or ask a question, or, even with my kids, I mean, oftentimes they need forms filled out for school or whatever it is. And if you can't get in touch with a person, like, where are we at? Nowhere good.
Yep. I also think the more that you work with AI, the more you will start to realize that it is not perfect. And it rails very quickly. And, for those of us of a certain generation, we remember when the internet became a thing and it was always like, don't trust Wikipedia because people can put Wikipedia, and the internet is, you need to approach it with this like healthy amount of skepticism because, not everything on there is believable and trustable and blah, blah, blah. And, the same kind of a thing I think applies to AI, obviously, very much so, as I have seen plenty of times where AI just very confidently spits out a completely incorrect answer or makes the completely incorrect assumption about something, or AI will just come straight up hallucinate and make things up. And this is like a very common and like well-known thing that happens with AI. So I think for us to just fully rely on it to take over some of these more touchy but also very like high value important task, which is like maintaining this patient relationship where, your practice literally lives and dies on your relationship with your patient, because if patients aren't coming in and if they're not happy with you, they're leaving. And to trust something that important and that pivotal to something that can just make stuff up or is, a little bit hard to predict sometimes, I just think it's the wrong play. And I think we're going to see it more and more as people lean the wrong way here.
In my head, I was thinking, that's not the move.
Right.
That's not the move, people.
Yep.
So at my practice, I don't know how much of course, I always reference my practice. I just don't know how much I've really talked about it, but we have 3 doctors, 11 operatories, bunch of hygienists. We have been in town for over 50 years, multi-generational practice. And one of the things that I am really proud of is the relationships that we have with our patients. And we have, the other day, it was so cute. It was a woman who was 92. Her daughter came with her to the appointment, who is maybe in her 70s. And she also had the little grandson who was like less than 1 with her. And, she was babysitting for her son. So that was 4 generations of people literally walked in at the same time. But there's a lot of that. And we know all our patients. I know so much about a lot of them. I've talked a bit personally in other places about how humbled I was, like each one of my pregnancies. Sometimes I would go in and like a patient would have like brought me a gift for my baby. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this, I'm always like so sheepish when people think of me for anything that I'm like, oh, I just am blown away.
Yeah.
So kind. And we do the same thing for our patients too. So I always know that they are getting the best front office experience of any place they go to, because I've been to some other medical practices and dental practices around us, and I know what's going on at that front desk.
Yeah.
1, they probably don't have one. 2, they're checking you in and looking right back down at their computer and doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's really important to me, and I really think that is a big part of what has made our practice so successful is the relationships and trust that have been formed. We also have amazing doctors who are serving up that same connection and even more back in the operatories.
Yeah.
So don't replace your front office with what are they even called? Virtual assistants or like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. We use Revenue Well, and I'm trying to think of what they're calling their little AI answering agent. It has a name, Cora, but don't do it.
I also think if you're really looking for a way to stand out very soon, if not already, the way to stand out is to have a few more human touch points that are memorable, that are thoughtful, that are, very white glove, that just bring that like warmth and compassion. But also the thing that I would say about this is, in order to free up your staff to be able to have the time and the bandwidth to be able to have those discussions and build those relationships, you might have to help support them with some AI. But
Yes.
support them in the
100%.
support them in the right places with the AI, so that frees up their time to be able to have those discussions and build those relationships. So it's not we're not coming in here saying keep your front desk or keep your office completely AI free, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we're just saying use it in the right place.
Mm-hmm. I am still guilty of this because Daydream is working on their EagleSoft integration. But when I'm sitting down with a 13-page Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts EOB to post, I can't always look up and start chatting with Mrs. Jones about her Caribbean cruise.
Right. Yep.
So freeing up those kind of manual tasks to be able to do what Sarah is saying is huge.
Yep.
Using it in the right manner.
Yeah. But then also, just like you're going to employ these AI tools to be able to, empower your team to have these discussions, you also have to provide them with some tools to help like foster their communication skills and their ability to have these discussions, because they are just going to continue to become more important as you want to focus on them and have your office stand out. Like, give them some tools and some training and some CE on building these skills too, because soon that is what is going to make offices and, experiences stand out for people, is the way that they, what the human connection component is. And don't forget to, build that and flex that muscle and help them get stronger in those as well.
Mm-hmm. Kind of tying into that is one of the talking points we were going to say was the patient experience is becoming too transactional. I think we've covered a lot of how to offset that, but my opinion and my like daily practice on this is I try not to overcomplicate this. Your patients are people, and asking them very simple questions that aren't obviously too like personal is, you'll be surprised at how quickly they open up and want to chat. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, the other day I was making someone an appointment and it was at 8 a.m. and he lived kind of far away. And I remember saying like, Jason, what time do you wake up in the morning? Like, if you're going to be here at 8 a.m. He goes, oh no, I wake up at 4:30 every day. And then I do this and that. And then I learned just so much about him by asking one simple question of like what time he wakes up in the morning. Oftentimes a compliment can go a long way. I love your bag. Where did you get it? That can launch into a whole thing too. People love talking about their kids and their pets. So that's always on the table. Yep. Just try not to get too crazy with it. I remember a lot of details, of course, but almost anytime I ask someone something, I put it in the memo section of our practice management software. So that is a section where it's not part of the patient record. That is simply for internal use. That way I can remember and I can look back and remember to ask them about their Hawaiian trip or whatever it might be. So that way they, maybe if my mind is slipping a little bit, they don't know and they think that I'm remembering. And
used
that
to
helps.
always have this when I was in office too, is like I would, like you said, you get to know your patients, especially ones, if they're coming in for like a bigger treatment plan and they're in like very often in a short period of time, you get a lot more of these touch points and a lot more of these like discussions and stuff with them. And I would always be like, out at the grocery store or something and like see a patient from the office. And I never wanted to be like super creepy and like walking up and being like, hey, Jane, how are you? Oh my God, good to see you outside the office, blah, blah, blah. But I would like sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I know this lady's insurance. I know like I know where she
So you can't
lives.
think of
Yeah,
their
I know
name.
what part of town she lives in. We've talked about her trip. I know what her grandkids look like. Like she's, in the grocery store with her grandkid. And I'm like, oh, that's Jimmy. Oh my gosh, it's so funny to see him like in real life. I've only ever seen pictures. And afterwards, I would just be like thinking like, wow, like I don't want to be creepy, but like I do kind of know a lot about these patients.
Right. And I feel like you know so much more about them than they know about you, usually. And I run into patients all the time. And sometimes I say something, sometimes I don't. It really depends. And I always try to say like, oh, I'm Amanda from the dentist's office, just so sometimes they can't place you without the front desk in front of you.
And
like,
also you don't want to like, there's also, HIPAA stuff in there too, where like you're not trying to be totally over the line. But yeah, it's hard to sometimes navigate those, but I do think it is nice and it says a lot about your practice when you do have team members who recognize and remember all of those things about people when, when they see them out and about or when they see them in the office too.
So I should not be shouting and asking them about their raging tooth infection.
How's that abscess treating you? Oh.
Right. Okay, so technology really creates convenience, but people create loyalty. Another thing our patients really appreciate is the longevity of so many of our staff. Unfortunately, it's gotten to the point where I'm the old timer at the front desk because I don't like it. Like, I like it, but I don't. When I started at the office, it was me. I was only 19. And the other ladies there were 3 other ladies at the desk, and they were all probably 45, 50-ish. So they have all since retired. And someone came in and said that the other day. They're like, oh my gosh, you're the old timer now. I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
You're the last one standing.
And I'm like, I try not to do it too much, but sometimes I'm like telling old war stories about like old employees and things we did or fun we had, and they're probably like, oh my god, listen to this old lady rattling on.
But you also know, like, in this day and age, that's so like uncommon. Yeah, people don't stay at jobs like that anymore. I see it all the time when I'm doing hiring and reviewing applications. Like, it's very to be switching jobs like every 2 years these days. You don't really see people who have been at a job for, even like 5+, definitely not 10+, and very infrequently like, 20+.
Right. It's kind of like not what people are taught anymore. They are sort of encouraged to bounce around, get that raise, get that better title, and I'm not saying anything about any of that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just happen to have found a place I really loved and enjoy going to work every day. And I also think that is rare.
Yep, for sure.
So to wrap up a little bit here, I think the biggest piece of advice that we can give practices is to kind of put yourself in the patient position. If you were a patient in your own practice, what would impress you? What does impress you when you go to other offices? I feel like most of the time when I'm going to other offices, they're falling short, and I'm thinking, I could have this place turned around in 2 days.
Yeah. Yep. I've definitely been there too. But I think on the flip side of that, I always try to approach it as like, if I do see even one like cool thing that an office did or was using or whatever, I'm like, oh, I need to take this idea. Like, wow, this was really cool.
Yes. You can grab little bits and pieces from other places and make them your own and implement them in your own practice. So
yeah.
That's about it for this episode.
I think to kind of summarize too, from where I know I keep going back to it, you guys are going to hate me by the end of this. If you made it this far.
Are you going to say SOPs again? Okay.
Yes, I'm going to say, if you don't know where to start, Start by thinking exactly like you just said. If you were a patient in your own practice, what would impress you? And then, start by just like evaluating like, okay, what are we actually doing day in and day out? What does the patient actually experience when they come into our office? Because that's the other thing I would honestly venture to say is that if you're a doctor and you're saying, if I were a practice here, what would impress me? Do you even really know like what the patient experience is like from like start to finish for a patient in your practice? Probably not. Like, when's the last time you listened to a new patient phone call come in? I don't know if doctors really know what that sounds like or what exactly is happening. So would encourage, that standpoint too, is like some curiosity and some investigation there to see what is even happening on that level.
I like that idea, actually. I mean, start to finish, even if, I don't know, you made some kind of mock patient or something, like that whole phone call, I'm thinking about what we do in our practice, like scheduling the appointment, the auto forms that get sent off for the patient to fill out, the whole process of filling them out, them getting returned, getting their x-rays from a previous office, what that includes, stepping in for the first time, how they're greeted, all of that stuff. Like, again, start to finish, what does that look like? And if you could see it firsthand, maybe what would you change? Because you probably haven't seen it from the patient's point of view. Yeah. You've seen it from the chair when they sit down and you start charting, but that's probably it. So,
So just start with where you're at and then figure out even what small changes too. That's the other thing is this doesn't have to be some huge daunting rehaul of anything. Just find the little places where you can make a little change here or there, a little update here or there, or, even better is find the things that you really, really like and you feel like are going well and build on those too.
Yep. All right, everybody. That is about it for this episode, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye.